a minute for everything, and that was the biggest portion of our expenditure. And actors got nothing. And I remember so clearly getting a telephone call from a guy named Johnny Weissmuller who played Tarzan. He heard that we used a clip of his, which is not in the movie. We took it out. He said, "I heard you." I said, "Well, we were going to use it, but he said, "Oh, sorry." He said, I can't pay my rent. So we sent them $2,000 from our own budget. But that I'll never forget. But to this day, I'm mad at them for that.
That's true. That's part of the history.
I didn't mean to do that. But I will say any anti-Trump thing you want me to say. I tweet every night, and very often I tweet something about Trump, and the slogan is, "Let's get the Trumps to the dumpster," and I think last night I tweeted something that was so good, it got 1,700 answers. It was so good. I feel I'm doing good.
That's instant gratification.
Yes, instant gratification.
1,700 laughs. Counts. And then before we move on, we were talking again, a favorite film of mine is The Comic, which is a rather serious film with Dick Van Dyke.
The Comic is my favorite performance by Dick Van Dyke. Mm-hmm. It's a serious thing. We did it, Aaron Rubin and I wrote the screenplay, and it was based on all the old silent movie comedians who were not very nice people. Three of them, was an amalgam of three of them, and they were much married, much divorced, and one of the scenes in it is about him marrying somebody when he was drunk. He met her one night at a bar. One of the comedians, I think Buster Keaton, actually did that. Woke up in bed in the morning, "Who are you? I'm your wife." Anyway, so it was based on the truth. And the thing is, Dick's performance, at the very end, when he starts to want to come back to his wife, and he comes back to his wife and finds that she's married, but he says, and he gets very upset. His kid, he picks up his kid. He says, "I'm taking my kid with me." He hasn't seen his kid since he's born, and he starts to go away, and the wife comes out with her child with it, and he realizes he's picked up a stranger's kid, and the sadness of that.
Yeah.
At the very end, you see his voiceover tells us how he's feeling. At the very end, he's still a sourpuss. And he's, "Look at that." He says, "When I was a star, and when Valentino died, there were thousands of cars following the funeral." And he's, "Look at that, 6 lousy cars going up the funeral path, and 2 turn over. He's 4 lousy cars." I love that. His performance deserved an Academy Award. He was absolutely brilliant.
It's an incredible film. Also, Mickey Rooney, who was in it, you had to teach him to.
That was one of. I read about that someplace. Mickey Rooney, to play the part of Cockeye. Ben Sherman was a really cross-eyed actor who played, and we stopped using that as a joke. But as a matter of fact, in the movie, he said, "That's wrong with this country. When these eyes stop being funny, we lost our sense of humor." But Mickey Rooney could play every instrument in the world. He could sing, he could dance, there's nothing, I consider him the most single, talented human being that ever played. No question about it. And I said to Mickey, "Now look, Mickey, I know it's very upsetting to cross your eyes, so you keep your eyes down, except when we do close-ups." I said, so you don't have to keep them crossed. And he said, "I can't cross my eyes." I thought he was kidding me. Everybody can cross their eyes. He said, "No, I can't cross my eyes." And he convinced me. And I said, "I'll teach you how to cross your eyes." I said, "I've taught a few people how to do." I said, "Put your finger up by the bridge of your nose and look at your finger. Your eyes will cross." He said, "I can't do it," and he couldn't. And I said, "A guy could do everything." He's playing a guy called Cockeye. You have to have an optician make a glass eye, a cross glass eye. We had an optometrist being with us for the whole, every time And by the way, when we put it in, his eye teared and got red. We couldn't keep it more than a few seconds. So we had a doctor on the set all the time. I would say, before anything else, I would say, roll camera, let him roll, so it's rolling. Put the eye in. They put the eye in, do the scene, cut, take the eye out. It was the worst. It was the most small son. But he delivered. He sure delivered.
Oh, it's a wonderful film. If people want to check that out. Now, another film that was very much a part of my childhood was Oh God.
Oh yes.
With George Burns. And you told me that originally the script Oh God was sent to your friend Mel Brooks.
Yes, Mel Brooks would be the first guy naturally to direct God or to play God. He said, I don't know what to do with this. And so he fell in my hand, and the three guys who had started working on it did great work, and we helped him. And the casting was so easy. When they said, who plays God? I said, and George Burns' name came up. I don't know if I brought up somebody else. Perfect. I said, he was doing a series with his wife, and he was God in that. He was always standing beside the set before it happened, and he would prophesy or tell you what's going to happen. And being the age he was, by the way, are there any children in the audience? Okay. The day I left, the day after we finished, George was always talking about vaudeville. I went into his dressing room and I thanked him for the wonderful work he'd done. I said, George, I always think about this. I said, you're 80 years, he was 80 then, I was about 60. I said, when I always see you on the arms of beautiful ladies walking around, I said, I want to know what I have to look forward to sexually when I'm your age. And he said, he said this, and I give it to you because you're going to repeat it. It's funny. He says, Carl, he got a cigar. He says, Carl, you ever try to put an oyster in a slot machine? When Oh God made a lot of money, and they wanted to do a sequel, I said, wait, don't do a sequel. I said, the fact that God came here once, he'd never come back twice. If it didn't work, he would prove himself to be, infallible. I said, he's supposed to be infallible. Do not do it, and they did it, and it didn't work. I don't even remember what it was about. I don't think I saw it.
Yes. Now let's talk about a movie, Raw. I think that just, again, is on everybody's top 10 of comedies, The Jerk.
The Jerk was based on Steve Martin's line from his act, I was born a poor black child. It's the whitest man you've ever seen. By the way, Steve Martin I consider a true genius. Not because he can act, but he knows about everything. His understanding of art, about antiquities. He's written books about things. And by the way, his autobiography, Born Standing Up, is the most brilliantly written, touching thing you've ever read. I recommend it to you. It will tear your heart out, because Steve had a very, very tough life with his parents never talked to him. They never knew what he was doing or cared. And I don't want to go into that, but Steve, yeah.
Yes.
So, he was the kind of actor, luckily on that picture we wrote to work every day, and we talk about what we're going to do that day, and every once in a while you get an idea, and I say, oh, we got to get that in somehow. One specific one I remember, it's Nathan Johnson. By the way, Nathan is Mel's book. We were looking for a name for the character. His name was Nathan. And Mel says, you know how the Southern people who never hear the same way, like Irving becomes Irvon, you know. So Nathan would become Navin. So he became Navin Johnson. Well, Navin's leaving home, you know, poor child who knows nothing about anything, and they're trying to give him some wisdom. So they're teaching him, his father's teaching him. He says, and I remember coming to set, I told him, wait a second, we got this little scene to do. And he walks around the corner of a building that we had still standing, and he said, son, you're going out in the world now, and something you should know. He says, you see that? You know what that is? He says, no, what's that? He says, that's shit. He says, shit. Now he takes out a can of shoe polish. He says, now this is Shinola. He said, okay now. Now I'm going to test you. What's that? He said, that shit? Yes. What's that? Shinola. Is you ready, son? For those young people who don't know, that was a phrase in the 70s and 20s. You don't know shit from Shinola. That was the phrase.
The Jerk is a movie, and I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but it's such a funny movie. But in the context of 2016, would you ever be afraid that it's politically incorrect to make that kind of film?
No, because the movie was done with the heart in the right place, and people. I've said that a few times, and once even when I was doing a Van Dyke show, I had a show where they think they have the wrong baby, and then it turns out that they got the wrong candy. The two mothers were in the hospital at the same time, the 2 rooms close to each other, 218, 213. And it turns out it was a black couple. It was Peters, what's his name, a wonderful actor. And the network was frightened at the African-American community. And I said, watch the show. You watch the audience. We had an audience always with our shows. I said, the audience will tell you that they knew where our heart was. Of course, the audience applauded. And at the very end, we made a special thing in the tag where their kids are now 6 or 8 years old. And their kid, the African-American kid, was a straight A student, and his kid was like a C student. We put that into, and we're very aware of that.
How did you meet Steve Martin?
I knew Steve Martin because he worked with my son Rob on the Smothers Brothers show, and I had seen him on Saturday Night Live, and Steve, he was a rock star. I remember in his book, you'll learn this, when he did before he ever became an actor, he went on tour. He played as much as 46,000 people in one venue in a stadium.
I went to see him.
You did?
Yes.
And the most amazing thing, Steve never told a joke. It was always the promise of a joke coming, but it never came. He did a million things he was on for, and then he got sort of tired of doing that, and that's when he came to motion picture. He had never acted with another person. It was always in one. And did he fall into acting with people? He was just perfect. Well, as I said, he is a genius.
Now, in the movie Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, which we just saw, so this is where it gets complicated. Which came first? Did you write the script and then find the movies, or watch the movies and write the script?
No, we got we had lunch with this fellow, George Gapp, a Baltimore gentleman came in. He came with some scripts for me to do television. It wasn't good, but I saw he was a good writer. And so we went to lunch looking for something for Steve. And I think I came up with this idea, and they jumped at it. We started working, and Steve had to do Pennies from Heaven. He went to do a movie. And, the fact that he learned to tap dance, he never tap danced in his life. That's why I say he can do anything he wants to do. But George and I watched old film noir movies. We just watched them it was a pleasure. For 6 months we watched old movies, and we'd see a word or a line, we'd take it down, paste it on the wall, and say, that's a piece of dialogue that can be, if we find it matching, we'll match that dialogue. I mean, like the name Rigby Reardon, somebody, one of the films, one of the old actors said,